will AI replace PALs? We came to a conclusion which was the average PAL
Mhm.
probably will replace it.
Right now, there's probably an opportunity to augment. Still a human, people. That part would be hard to replace because it's not just a transactional thing. And the other thing is, remember, AI isn't just smart on its own. It needs a corpus of knowledge to train a model to give you your black and white answer.
Will AI replace AWS PALs, partner alliance leads? Yes or no, and why?
Over what time frame? A decade?
Next 5 years.
Not in the next 5 years. And by PAL, I'm talking about the alliance leader. And by alliance leader, I'm talking about a lot of what we do is both strategy and then like building or handing off execution. And that part, at least today, unless AI starts inherently learning on its own, which like I guess it's AGI or whatever, which I haven't seen yet,
Yeah.
which I don't think that time frame is in the next 5 years because like anything great, it's like 80% is probably doable, but the last 20% is really hard. And it might take a decade or two to get to the last 20%. That being said, AI today is learning and models,
Mm.
and those models train off of a corpus of data. And while we talk about sometimes the what, the why, the how, and the inputs and the outputs, I think are still very human. And when we talk about, like my 6C framework, and I talk about champions as one of the C's, that's a human thing, right? I don't know that an AI can substitute the relationship, the friends helping friends, the understanding, that EQ part. And so long answer, but I think augmentation, absolutely. Today, 100%.
Mm.
Replace, maybe at some level, like I probably shouldn't or don't need as large of a team today that I had 5 years ago. 100% true. In fact, I don't want it. I had the opportunity for more headcount. I said no. Now, I think I'm still too early in my journey to know what's right or wrong or what would I do that for. But I also joke and say, I'm spending more money. I'm going to have more problems, right? There's going to be a greater expectation. I'm not ready for that yet. So I think there is a balance. And I think I see companies thinking through what's the ROI on what we do. So longer answer, but all of that unpacks into the answer is probably not in 5 years, but
Yeah, which comes on to the next question, right? Which is what part of the PAL's job today is already being replaced?
I mean, I go back in time. I was joking. I did a webinar yesterday with AWS and right at the kickoff, I was joking. I've been around long enough in the marketplace. I remember when it was very nascent, when CPPO was on a piece of paper, right? Now there's all this tech and wiring. So like as AWS's tools have gotten better and API, then there's a whole emerging tech stack in these 3PI vendors like Sugar and Tackle and Quasar and everything else. And so there are things you and I know, we've been doing this for a few years. I used to have people doing things that I now have technology and workflow doing, right? You can still build a private offer. You still can build a CPPO. You still can do consumption billing. You could have your product do consumption billing all on its own and build a marketplace all on its own, or agent billing, right? AI agent building. You can have technology build your private offer and send it out all on its own. You can have technology register CoSell in ACE all on its own conditional workflow. You can have it do a bunch of other stuff that's part of the processes that you do. So that hopefully you're either thinking about or doing today, but I'm doing a lot of that stuff so that I can do with a team of 1, 2, 4, 5 that I used to maybe, or companies are still doing with 10, 20. Now, it still doesn't mean it's as good because I still think the human element and being in the theater, being in the region, being in the forecast, being in the QBR, there's kind of no substitution for that. But some of these processes can be augmented or automated through tools, workflow, technology, all that stuff.
What's the skill set that cannot be replaced? You've just mentioned it, which is that emotional intelligence. And
it's also a strategy. The inputs change my outcomes.
But your inputs are also reading the room, right? Your inputs are
that's right. They're human inputs.
Reading the body language. It's reading the culture, reading the, there are different things. So for me, can AI do that? And maybe not measuring the voice or measure it, but I think there's different, exactly, not yet. The skill partner alliance leads, they have that unbelievable skill that cannot be replaced at the moment.
This is my point. If I didn't make it clear, this is my point about AI when I said a corpus of data. There is no corpus of data. If everyone could do what we do, you wouldn't need us. And the AI would know this stuff, but there is no corpus of data. There's no one size fits all answer. The strategy that I'm implementing here was not the strategy at the last company or the other company. Maybe there's 80% overlaps, but that last 20%, we build different technology. We sell to a different buyer. We compete differently with the cloud providers. The strategy is not the same. And if you lift and shift your playbook from one company to another, you will fail. I promise you. So I do agree with you. It is sales skills and it's the human skills. I talk about champion building a lot, but I substitute, champion building is like a sales thing, sales process, but I can substitute it with just friendship, right? Like if I showed you my strategy decks that I show my CEO or like my mission statement, like what am I after? I'm after building my company and us like best friend relationships with, newsflash, like an AWS. 120,000 person, 130 something $billion ARR business. Like, I want them to be our best friends. But the second line is like, they don't need us. We need them. And I always keep that back here. Like any interaction, you don't need me, but I need you. How am I going to go earn that? How am I going to earn the right to get help? How am I going to earn the right? And so I think mindset, strategy, the human nature, right? People help people. Everyone has people in their lives, family, friends. Most people have few best friends. It's a tough relationship and it takes time. So I always think of that. Like, what am I doing in partnerships? Substitute the word partnership for friendships. Substitute your strategic or your most important partners for best friends. And then just parallel your own personal life with, man, these are business friendships. These are business best friends. Man, there has to be a mutual exchange of value. I can't just be like me, we want this, give me that. I haven't earned the right to do any of that stuff. Right? How do I get my friend who's 1,000 times our size to be like, man, you're like our best friend. How do I help you? Oh, goodness. That's the game we're playing. It's like, hi, nice to meet you, Andrew. And then like, we dance together. And then it's like, hey, I really appreciate you being a partner, a customer. Thank you for your business. But that's the sales process. And so I do think of like CoSell excellence is how can I interoperate with whatever sales process we use? How do I interact with that sales process as an alliance and as my partners, what they're good and not good at and all of that stuff? And ultimately, what am I after? Well, I'm after, by the time we get to thank you for your business, maybe the deals are bigger because we had this interaction and help. Maybe the deals are faster. Maybe the percentage of deals that we close win versus close lost is higher. By the way, I'm literally telling you the metrics I am measuring and capturing. I just ran these metrics for our business for the last year, which I wasn't a part of, but I was just curious at our business now. And I can tell you, hey, deals where we co-sold were higher, like they were bigger than deals that we didn't co-sell. Well, why does that matter? Well, I told you the skills go back to sales. So sales, I need to go sell why we should continue to do this or why my strategy is X, Y, and Z. And I need to support it with data that I didn't build the strategy out of thin air. So I think leverage, surprisingly, all of that data, like I can dump Salesforce and I can dump Salesforce into a Google Sheet. The cool thing is now I can use Gemini in that sheet and I can go ask it, hey, what was like, I could do this math and I could build formulas, but now I can have the AI build that answer for me. Hey, what was the percentage of this versus that? Use this column as your whatever. And it did the math for me. It was actually pretty cool.